Your father traveled with a ship to go perform the Hajj. Your grandfather used to go by ship to London. Ask them, they're still alive. Nobody travels by ship anymore. Everybody traveling with a motor car and an aeroplane. Modern Western civilization gave these things to the world. And as it transforms mankind through its scientific and technological revolution, it embraces you and makes you dependent and keeps you within its godless embrace. Modern Western civilization speaks about God, but is really godless. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّ بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ, says Allah. And amongst mankind there are those who say, we believe in Allah and in the last day, but Allah says no. They are godless. I want to suggest to you that modern Western civilization has emerged in history by divine planning. It didn't happen by accident. And it has come into the world as a divine plan to test. To see who are those who will remain faithful to Allah and to follow Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, regardless of the price they have to pay. And who are those who will willingly allow themselves to enter into that godless embrace. But we have to proceed with the lecture. Modern Western civilization is not only mysterious in its origin, but also there seems to be within modern Western civilization an inner core, a group of hijackers. You know, you hijack an aircraft. So this small group within modern Western civilization do the hijacking. And this small group within modern Western civilization is a Judeo-Christian group. Namely, some Jews and some Christians reconcile. They used to be enemies, and they reconciled. Ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd, says Allah in the Quran. Suratul Ma'idah, verse number 49, sometimes it's mentioned as 51. In that you'll find the answer to that secret group within modern Western civilization, pursuing a particular agenda. And they're very easy to recognize. It's the Jewish-Christian Zionist alliance controlling the US Congress today. They have an obsession with the Holy Land. While modern Western civilization in its totality is vehemently secular and believes that religion belongs to the museums, this small group within Western civilization has an obsession with the Holy Land. These are the ones who succeeded through the First World War, which they instigated, incidentally, in the summer of 1914, the assassination of the Grand Duke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo, which caused the First World War to be launched, who succeeded through the First World War in liberating, meaning from their perspective, not ours, liberating the Holy Land. When the British Army defeated the Ottoman Islamic Army, and General Allenby entered into Jerusalem and declared, today the Crusades have ended. It is this core within Western civilization which then brought the Jews back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own. It is this core within Western civilization which then caused the birth of the State of Israel in the Holy Land in 1948. It is this core, the Zionist Jewish-Christian alliance within Western civilization, which is now demolishing the US dollar and the US economy. It is this Judeo-Christian Zionist alliance which is responsible, not the majority of the American people, for American troops being in Afghanistan and in Iraq and poised now to attack Pakistan. And it is this shadowy group within modern Western civilization who planned and executed 9/11 and then put the blame on innocent Muslims. I have written a book, I don't have, here it is, an Islamic view of Gog and Magog in the modern world. Gog and Magog are in the Quran. And so you better study the subject of Gog and Magog, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And they are one of the signs of the last day, and I have located Gog and Magog in that alliance. This alliance wants Israel to rule the world so that the Messiah can come and declare from Jerusalem, I am the Messiah, which will then validate the Jewish claim to truth. But in order for Israel to rule the world, the Arabs will have to submit to Israel. And so we now have what you call the Arab Spring. It's going to turn out to be a very bloody spring, because Israel is going to exploit the Arab Spring tomorrow to say that Islam is now re-emerging in the world, and Islam poses a threat to Israel and to mankind. And we have to save the world from Islam. So Israel can launch a pre-planned wars against the Arabs to decimate the Arabs and to force the submission of the Arab world to Israel. It is for this reason that Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam uttered those prophetic words. You may have heard of them when he woke up from his sleep and his face was flushed red. Hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. But nobody talks about these ahadith. And he said, وَيْلٌ لِلْعَرَبْ مِنْ شَرٍ قَدْ اقْتَرَبَ. Woe unto the Arabs because of a great evil which is now approaching. But for that you've got to read this book on Gog and Magog. In order for Israel to rule the world, Israel must not only force the submission of the Arab world around it to Israel, but more than that, much more than that. Israel will have to force Russia to bend its knee. And Israel will have to force China to bend her knee. Israel doesn't have to force the Muslim world, the leaders, the governments, because they're all bending their knees. Anytime you ask them to bend their knees, they bend their knees. I don't want to say anything more than that. You're very intelligent people. Can Israel force Russia to bend her knee? Will Russia bend her knee? Can Israel force China? I'm not talking about the Chinese in Singapore. They're polishing the shoes. They call that little Israel out there. If ever a people have made a fatal mistake in foreign policy, it is that little island of Israel. And they're listening to my lectures out there in Israel, in little Israel. They made a fatal mistake in foreign policy. And now the chickens are coming home to roost for Singapore. No need to speak any more on that. Russia will not bend her knee. And Russia is a nuclear power. China will not bend her knee. The Chinese in Singapore will, but not China. And China is a nuclear power. But this imposter state of Israel and the Jewish-Christian Zionist alliance which created it are proceeding with the only word I could use is pig-headed obsession. Pig-headed obsession. No reason at all in their thinking. Obstinate obsession that we have to rule the world. And so you don't need a PhD to understand that we're moving in the direction of an enormous collision between this alliance which now rule the world, I call them the barbarians who now rule the world, and on the one hand, and Russia and China and their allies on the other. It cannot be avoided. No, not when you have people who are obsessed and cannot think, cannot reason. They're acting like robots. That collision is going to witness thousands of nuclear weapons exploding in the world. By my calculation, and of course when I give my opinion I can be wrong, by my calculation we probably have only another 20-25 years left. And some would say, Imran, you're being too optimistic. It's much less than that. Before this collision takes place, before this great war takes place, which will be mutually destructive. When a nuclear bomb explodes, as happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it creates a mushroom cloud. So when thousands of nuclear weapons explode, my view is that that is going to be the dukhan that the Prophet spoke of, alayhi salatu wasalam. That one of the major signs of the last day, you know there are 10 of them, one of them is dukhan, or smoke. And I noticed that the Christians have in their scriptures belief that in the last stage there'll come a time when there'll be 3 days of darkness. You won't see the sun for 3 days. What then is Islam's view of the end of history? We share with Christians and with Jews the same belief in the origin, except that we say that both of them disobeyed Allah, not the woman and then she seduced the man. Not the Quran says no, both of them. And if both of them were in error, he has a greater responsibility than her, because Allah taught him وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. We share with them the belief that when Nabi Dawood alayhi salam lived and created the state of Israel, and Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam built the masjid, we share with Christians and with Jews the belief that that was a golden moment in history, when that state of Israel, holy Israel, became the ruling state in the world, and it's confirmed in the Quran. The dua of Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, when he prayed to Allah, "O Allah, kindly grant me a state which cannot be rivaled in history." Nabi Muhammad ﷺ said to his companions one morning, the time of Fajr, he said, last night I had a fight with Iblis and I overpowered him. And I wanted to tie him to the pillars of the masjid. So when you came to the masjid for Fajr, you'd see him. But then I remembered the dua of Sulaiman alayhi salam. And I had to release him. Muslims also believe that history is moving towards a climax, towards an end. And we share with Christians and with Jews the belief that history is going to climax in Jerusalem, in the Holy Land. We believe with the Christians and with the Jews that Allah is going to send the Messiah. And that Messiah is going to rule the world from Jerusalem. The Christians believe that. The Jews believe that. The Muslims believe that. How come CNN doesn't tell us this? Huh? It's a common belief between Christians, Jews, and Muslims. History is not going to end in Bharat, in India. History is going to end here in the Holy Land. We share with Christians that Messiah who is coming came already once. He was the son of Mary, Nabi Isa alayhi salam. And that he will come again. The Christians believe that he died and was resurrected and then went up into the heavens. We say no. He never went into the heavens. No. And he never died. No. Allah made it appear like that. But the only way you would know what happened is if you come to the Quran. No other way. Like the only way you'd know what happened to Pharaoh when he was drowning is if you come to the Quran. No other way. That Allah made it appear like that. But no, they did not kill him. No, they did not crucify him. And Allah raised him. Raised him where? Not into heaven. No, sir. I hope the Christians who are listening to this lecture in the days ahead of us would look at the Muslim viewpoint. That Allah created the material universe, ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَسَوَّاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ. That having created the material universe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then created 7 samawat. 7 different worlds of space and time. Or what the scholars of physics call 7 parallel universes. Different worlds of space and time. And we had a taste of it just last month. This is Shaban. Last month was Rajab. And last month we had the Isra and Miraj, which was into the samawat, not the heavens, the samawat. And he's going to come back. Christians believe he's coming back, and Muslims believe that he's coming back. The Muslim view is that the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam is close. Close. This is the book that explains that subject, Jerusalem in the Quran. By my calculation, and I can be wrong, we probably have only another 25, 30, 35 years left. But there are those who criticize me and say, no, it's much less than that. It's much less than that. Before the true Messiah returns, Islam has a view of the end of history, which is of supreme importance. And only a Muslim can explain the world today.